Dear ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good day, and warmly welcome to the second webinar in the series Navigator 2020, entitled German Trade Fairs in Times of COVID-19, organized by the Slovene-German Chamber of Commerce, AUMA Slovenia. We are pleased to host Mr. Herald Kötter, Director of Public Relations and Trade Fair Germany Division at the Association of the German Trade Fair Industry, AUMA, who will speak about the current situation in the German trade fairs industry, and Ms. Andra Riemhofer, a German author and business development consultant. In her keynote, she will talk about why German trade shows are still the place to be and how exhibitors can make the most of the trade show participation. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to ask the questions, and therefore I encourage you to write them in the chat option. I'm also I am kindly asking you just to put off your microphones so that we don't have external sound. And I thank you very much for that. And I'm also kindly informing you that this webinar will be recorded and also shared within our communication mix, so our channels, website, and social media. And on the audience side, I'm also very happy that we came together from the three countries, Croatia, Serbia, and Slovenia. And therefore, I have to thank to our dear colleagues from the AUMA Croatia and AUMA Serbia who spread the voice about the webinar. So thank you very much. Hvala. I also thank the sponsors of the Navigator series, Siemens Slovenia and EOS KSI, Upravljanje terjatev. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, as we announced in our agenda, our president, the AUMA Slovenia President, Ms. Gertrud Rantzen, I am unfortunately informing you that she is not able to connect because of the internet connection. And unfortunately, she cannot share with us some introduction thoughts. That's why I am really sending her best regards to all of you. And I'm also sharing a short information that she actually would like to share with you. It is about the AUMA Industrial Suppliers Forum 2020. It's the biggest European. Can you please just put off your microphones, everybody? Okay, thank you very much. So she wanted to share the information about the AUMA Industrial Suppliers Forum 2020. It's the biggest European virtual trade fair for suppliers. It's relevant only for the companies in Slovenia. So if you want more information, please follow the link, and you can also contact my colleague more for this one. I'm just sharing the link in the chat option. So this is relevant, of course, for the Slovenian companies, and you can contact then also my colleague, Katja Stadler, who is in charge for the project. Now, dear ladies and gentlemen, again, I warmly welcome Mr. Herald Kötter. We are grateful, Mr. Kötter, that you will be delivering your keynote session today. And we thank you very much for your time and attention to this webinar. So, Mr. Kötter, please.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very glad to have the opportunity today to give you some information on the status and the perspectives of the German exhibition industry in this really strange times. Und danke an die AUMA Slowenien für die Einladung zu dieser Veranstaltung. Yes, Slovenia is a quite important country for the German trade fairs. For example, last year we had about 600 exhibitors at more than 100 shows in Germany, and about 30,000 visitors came from Slovenia to Germany, and I think this is really a lot. So I will now start my presentation, just a few seconds. Just a moment. Okay. So here we are. This is as you see, a picture from old times. All the people are a bit too close together here at the IFA, the Consumer Electronics Show in Berlin last year. So. So a few words about the development of the German trade fair industry in this year. So we had very different periods in this few months until September. At first, we had really two strong months, January and February 2020, with 44 international trade fairs in Germany and substantial growth of exhibitor numbers and also stable visitor figures. And in January, most people think this could really get a successful year. But already in February, different exhibitions registered less visitors, especially from East Asia. And then the Corona pandemic reached Europe. And so, and the next step was the last exhibitions took place at end of February, beginning of March, and some public shows a bit later. But then the federal government decided a lockdown, and this included a ban on all major events in Germany, with all events with several thousand visitors, and this for several months, of course. So we had a 6 months, nearly no traffic, no movement on our exhibition centers, and about 200 exhibitions could not take place or will not take place in this autumn. This is more than the half of the planned events of about 360, including all types of exhibitions, from international shows to regional public shows. So, and the next in general was the restart, but there was of course a step between. So the preparation for the restart. Of course, we have checked the financial losses of this lockdown, which was really high, and we counted the number of cancelled exhibitions. But our first aim and the most important aim was very simple set to make exhibitions possible again. So this included a lot of political communication right from the beginning. So we had two basic messages. First of all, trade fairs can help the economy to grow after the lockdown. So trade fairs should not be the last events that could start again. And the other one, trade fairs are business events, not leisure events like open air festivals or beer festivals, sport events, concerts, and so on. And this were our two basic messages to the decision makers in the government in Berlin. And we asked them to set clear conditions for the restart so that the organizers could plan their exhibitions for the autumn, because, as you know, you cannot set up an exhibition within a few weeks. And because the German exhibitions are very international, it was also an important aim to open the borders, first of all, within the European Union, but also the borders to other countries in the world. So some important days within this period, 6th of May, it was really decided that exhibitions are not major events or mass events, as you may say. So this was very important for us. So a differentiation between all this, just a moment. So it's very important to have this differentiation between these types of events. And it was also decided that the federal states will be responsible for the individual preconditions to organize trade fairs. And in June, the European Union decided to open the borders within the region of the European Union, and now, end of September, it's generally possible to go to Germany also from other countries in the world, but under certain restrictions, like some days of quarantine, for example. And this is not very helpful currently, but we try hard to change this condition into a more convenient one. So let's try. So the fourth part started the beginning of September, the restart of the exhibition industry in Germany. 12 exhibitions are planned in this month, and the biggest one was the Caravan Salon in Düsseldorf, with a duration of 10 days and more than 100,000 visitors with any problems regarding the health of participants and so on. And this was a very important sign for the whole industry. And in total, beginning from October, 60 exhibitions are planned, international ones as well as regional ones. But as you know, the situation regarding the infection rates, for example, is still certain for the next month. So it's not really clear or sure that all these exhibitions will really take place, but I think it will be a very high percentage. And for 2021, a record program is planned of nearly 200 international fairs in Germany. One of the reasons is that different international shows were postponed from 2020 to 2021. But it will be a development step by step, of course. You may have heard that some exhibitions planned in the first quarter of 2021 are now postponed. For example, 2 exhibitions in Frankfurt. And so, unfortunately, there is not a button you can press at the 1st of January and then everything will be as good as in the past. So it will be a way step by step to a normal situation. Yes, and a lot of companies also currently have the question, are trade fair participation really worthwhile now? Of course, the economy is down in a lot of countries and on a really serious scale. Not for all sectors of industry, of course, but this is a very different picture. But in general, it's the problem is that investments of companies and also the expenses of consumers will not recover in a few weeks, but this will need a longer period, of course. But this is our opinion, but I think also the opinion of most companies. It's not the time to wait now for better times. That could be a long period, but it's time to act now and to make decisions. So what does a company need now in this situation? Of course, companies need platforms for presentation of products, of new products, of course. And this should be presentations that are able to convince the customers, of course. And for this purpose, it's not sufficient only to have some pictures or maybe a digital animation. Personal contacts are necessary because many companies need also new customers because the old ones will buy less than in the past probably. And sales platforms are necessary, and also cooperation partners. Different companies think it could be helpful to join forces in these difficult times. Yes, and the question is, how can you do all this? This seems to be a really big project. You can use, of course, a lot of marketing instruments and tools, but sometimes it could be a good idea to set on one well-prepared trade fair participation, because you can achieve a lot of objectives by trade fair participations. For example, German organizers, this is a study we have made. They pursue an average of 8 objectives by a single participation in Germany. So why should companies go to trade fairs? Of course, doing business, boosting sales is quite important in these times, and this is not possible, of course, very quickly. Sometimes you need a few weeks while the customers need some time to decide, and not every contract is made directly at the exhibitions. I think the experienced exhibitors will know this. And it's also important to win new customers at trade fairs and to contact new cooperation partners. Different people visit fairs also with this aim, or there are other exhibitors that could be your partners. And there's a chance to gain market share by trade fair presentation in these times, because maybe not every other competitor will be present there, and this is also a chance. Networking very important in these times, because it's not only a question of contracts directly at the exhibitions, but to prepare future contacts and contracts. And so it's very important to have also first contacts to new potential customers. And what is sometimes underrated, trade fairs are also important platforms for media contacts to the trade press. There are some big exhibitions in Germany with hundreds of people from trade press of the respective sector, but also the TV and radio stations are interested in exhibitions. For example, at the IFA in Berlin at the beginning of September, very small exhibitions, but there are special sector within these exhibitions, which was only accessible for media representatives, and they had the chance to have interviews and product presentations for their programs. And it's also important that customers can test your products, the new products, new solutions, and with all senses, which is not possible, for example, by digital media, and you have a direct feedback on the quality of your new products. And what's very important in these times, what's being done for the health of trade fair participants. So all German organizers have developed really comprehensive concepts of health protection, and this is to be coordinated and supervised by the German health authority of the respective region. These are topics that I think valid in nearly all countries: minimum distance, also the control of visitor flows. There should be not a too high density of people. Of course, this is not allowed. And not only the visitors, but all people going to the exhibition center are registered. So this is important for later, maybe necessary contact tracking. And strict health regulations, of course, regarding cleaning, disinfection possibilities, and so on. And let's say, unfortunately, shaking hands should not be made, and other similar greeting rituals. I think this is also
It seems there are some internet connection issues with the keynote speaker, Mr. Kötter. Yeah. We will wait a little bit and then we will see if he can fix it up. Okay.
so very sorry.
Wonderful. Okay, so, wonderful.
But just a moment. So. It's a bit tricky today. So here's the right position, yes. So wearing of mask is in most German federal states mandatory, and but I think this is the same every shopping center or in a department store. And we also think the situation at trade fairs is really comparable to everyday situations, especially in the retail in shopping centers and so on. You have the aisles, you have shops, and at exhibitions you have the stands. This is not very different, and so all the exhibitions that have been organized in this month have shown there are no really problems regarding any health problems for the participants. So, but nevertheless, there are some limitations at exhibitions. Sometimes the number of visitors is limited by the authorities, but in these times, it's also not so many people as in the past are really visiting trade fairs, so this can be managed. And unfortunately, there are fewer foreign visitors, especially from countries outside Europe, from East Asia, and also from North and Latin America, because of the travel restrictions. And some German exhibitions are more concentrated on participants from Europe, but this is also quite a lot amount of people. For example, if you take all the foreign visitors at German trade fairs, nearly 70% come from the European Union or the so-called Schengen states, and so possible for a very high amount of foreign customers to come to German trade fairs. Sometimes there are also fewer exhibitors. I already mentioned it, but this in general should not be a reason to miss the trade fairs that are planned for the next time. So I think one is missing here. It's a bit strange, but to come to a conclusion, we think now there are very good chances to make new business contract and new contracts at German trade fairs. I think companies who are the first on these on the market, they have a better position than others. And so we think it's also possible in these Corona times to experience success at trade fairs and also in Germany. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very much, Mr. Herald Kötter, for this valuable insight in the trade fairs industry in the challenging times. I also see the questions in our chat. Thank you very much, Miss Jelena. We will come to you and also to other possible questions at the very end of the webinar. And now I am keenly handing over a word to Miss Andra Riemhofer, a German author and business development consultant. Please.
Thank you, Tina. Thank you for having me. Can you see my presentation?
Yes, everything works perfectly now.
Wonderful. Very good. Very good. Yeah, maybe a few words on who I am and what I do. I'm a freelance business development consultant specializing in helping international companies do business in Germany. I have been working in the trade fair industry for some years for Messe München, so I know three sides of the game: attending trade shows as a visitor, attending trade shows as an exhibitor, very often with my clients, as I did last week at a IT trade fair here in Munich. That is where the picture has been taken. And also working for Messe München in a coordinating function. So I have not only been part of one team like BAUMA or Electronica, but I had been in touch with all the project managers and all the people. Many people cannot imagine how many these are to make a trade fair happen. So I have many insights. So why do we love trade shows? a couple of words on that. When I say we, that's pretty inclusive. Maybe not everybody loves trade fairs. I do, Herald does. I know Gertrud Ranzen, who is not here today, she does. And also Mr. Müller. I'm not sure if there are people who are listening to this on the phone or in the car. So what you can see now or what you can't see now if you're not watching the presentation is my comic character, Herr Dr. Müller. He is representing a typical German, and he loves trade fairs. So he loves them so much that he had been invited, I'm not sure if you can see that, to take part in the official trade fair magazine of Embedded World, which is the last fair that I visited before the story ended for a couple of months. So why does Mr. Müller love trade shows? I read it to you. Herr Müller loves trade shows and he wants to make the most of the day. He loves learning about the latest trends and is open to giving recent developments a chance. At a trade fair, you learn about innovative ideas and you can discuss new opportunities. So for me personally, that is the core of attending trade shows. That is what we can all achieve as a visitor and as an exhibitor. So for those who are not aware of this, I think Herald has briefly talked about the impressive numbers which we had in the recent years. So 2/3 of the world's leading trade shows take place in Germany. So on an average, this is 150 international trade fairs and exhibitions, international meaning with a certain percentage of international exhibitors and visitors, not only German ones. And we have, on an average, 180,000 exhibitors and around 10 million visitors. So now you might be saying, okay, with Corona, that has changed. That's not the case anymore. For the time being, maybe. Why am I mentioning this? I mention that because German trade fair organizers, they have been handling these quantities for years. They have the contacts in the industries. So they are the people who can handle such events. So we can trust them with whatever they do to make events safe. They know how to handle big quantities of people going through their halls. And also they have the competencies. They know what is going on in the market. And one question I will later ask Herald is what he is thinking of virtual trade shows. So even if events don't take place on trade fair grounds, I would trust trade show organizers that they'll be able to offer a platform to connect buyers and sellers and people in the industry. Yeah, so that's the bottom line. German trade shows are the place to be if you want to learn about the latest technologies, if you want to update yourself on international market trends and meet potential business partners from all over the world. Okay, maybe a bit limited right now. So why do people attend trade shows? I have 3 years ago written an ebook about attending attending German trade shows. And for that, I could use many studies conducted by AUMA, which the association Herald is representing. And they do a lot of research into why people go and how to improve trade shows and so on and so forth. So for exhibitors, on an average, it is very important to acquire new customers. That's why they go. They want to take care of their existing customers. So one important reason, if you have attended trade shows in the past, people might be missing you if you're not showing up. That sounds maybe a bit colloquial, but it's a reason to keep in mind. People will miss you if you are not there. They want to enhance their company awareness. Yeah, definitely. It's a great tool for brand building. They want to present new products and services. I mean, there are still trade shows, like for example, Drink Tech. People are waiting for years, or that is the highlight when they present the newest developments. Open up new markets. So if you're thinking about accessing the German market, finding buyers there, very often trade shows are the first entry point where companies go, maybe with a joint booth to learn about the market, to talk to a couple of people and do some small steps. More importantly, I believe for exhibitors is not what they want, but to know what the visitors want. So again, we see our Dr. Müller, that's the night before the trade show. So Herr Müller is preparing. Why is Müller going? So he is looking for innovations and trends, what's new in the market, procure information, because a trade show is the place where you would find all the important market players in your industry. I mean, hopefully all or a big share of them. You can exchange information and experiences. That is also not to be underestimated, because at trade shows you find, you get the opportunity to talk to your peers, experts in your industry, people who know the market, people who know what are the latest trends. So you can do market observation, expand your knowledge, you talk to your existing business partners, and so on. Some prepare to buy after the show, so they would have researched several offers or suppliers, and the trade show would be like the final step in their decision process, and depending on the trade show, some would even place their order during the trade show. So what has changed? For me personally, Embedded World in February was the last trade show I attended before what I refer to as lockdown period. I remember very much when the ETB trade show was cancelled end of February. That really came as a shock, a reality shock for me. Now, in the meantime, we have learned to live with masks. We do not have to weigh the pros and cons anymore, as Mr. Müller did midst of April. We have learned to communicate through virtual platforms. But I feel now it's really time, and we have the possibilities with trade shows opening up again to leave our desks and to go and meet two people face to face, like in real life. So what is different from the world before? So for those who are only listening, we again see a sequence of Dr. Müller. I have come up with these paintings, I believe in June, when I was thinking, when trade shows start again, what will be different? Can I tell the same story of this Dr. Müller guy? And it's the same. Herr Müller still loves trade shows. He wants to make the most of the day because he loves learning about the latest trends. That has not changed. And he's open to giving recent developments a chance. And he wants to learn about innovative ideas, and he wants to discuss new opportunities. So basically, these are the fundamentals of trade shows, and these have not changed. But what has changed for the exhibitors? What do you have to do differently now? And I have come up with a couple of key points. After this slide, I will also show a summary. So if anybody wants to make a screenshot or take a picture, that you will see later. You don't have to make notes. thankfully, I had the opportunity to attend a trade show last week with one of my clients. It was a Digital Future Congress here in Munich. So that's what I can share is also firsthand experience. So overall, it was great to be back at a trade show again. So what did I recommend my client, and what would I recommend to you if you're thinking about attending a trade show in autumn? So for trade shows, you always need to plan. There's a lot to do, the stand construction, catering, and so on. You need to plan more, or you need to plan differently. So the stand construction, do it in a way that you can keep distance to people. The catering, I mean, you cannot just hand out snacks as you did before. Maybe there's a visitor routing. Maybe there are certain time slots visitors can enter the premises. So these are a lot of things that you need to consider in your planning, and to know about these things, you need to communicate more or differently with the trade show organizer. So don't worry about being a pain in the ass, so to say. Call them, ask for guidance, ask for checklists, so you can take all this into consideration. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's put it differently. Ask for confirmation, tell them about your plans, about your booth layout, and seek their confirmation that this is still complying with regulations that might also change during the course of time. Comply with the hygiene rules and brief your team. So during like Harald said, the health authorities are in charge. And during last week's trade fair, there was really a big fuss, I mean, in a positive way, about security personnel checking if people really wear the masks. And they said if people don't comply, then the health authorities will shut down the exhibition. That was the worst case scenario. So thank God that did not happen. In this context, I made some observations I would like to share with you. I mean, in the way, if you visit a trade show in the past, you're not going with worn out shoes and a sloppy t-shirt. There's a lot of things you can, I believe, read from how people treat the mask wearing thing. So there were two gentlemen, they were asked to wear the mask, and as soon as the security personnel left, they put it off and made a gesture that they were unnerved. You are observed during a trade show. Please don't leave a bad impression, even if you don't really 100% believe in the measurements. Also, I've seen people wearing really worn out masks, which they must have been wearing till the measurements were implemented a couple of months ago, also not leaving a very good impression. Anyway, what else? What I in general always recommend to exhibitors is not to neglect the pre-show marketing activities. So it's not that you go to a trade show, you are there and you're waiting for people to bump into your booth. There is a lot you can do to make your trade show attendance successful, which is inviting your network, which is making use of the marketing activities the trade show organizer is offering to you. This is posting on social media about your trade show presence. So do this more actively and explain to people also that you go there, and if they have questions, or you could even in advance say, inform them about, for example, the hygiene measurements of the trade shows, so that people really yeah, feel comfortable coming there, meeting you. I can tell you from my client, when he was going through his network, inviting people, he said, nobody said, oh, like, are you crazy going to a trade show and is this safe? So people very much appreciate it. He went there, and we also had a lot of visitors from his network. Good. So we have the Mr. Müller guy who visits the trade fair because he wants to learn about the latest developments. I believe for you as an exhibitor, it's a great opportunity to showcase innovations. People are hungry for information. If you offer something that in the context of Corona crisis is helping solve problems, then definitely it's a place to be. And we have seen that with the caravan exhibition. I mean, that's the latest trend in Germany or maybe worldwide. People, yeah, how people like to spend their holidays. So definitely you need to go there. You get more undivided attention from those hungry visitors. Definitely the shows are not that packed as in the past. That is also good news if you're a visitor. So there is more space for proper conversations. It's a good opportunity not only to bond with your existing contacts, it's also an opportunity to bond with the trade show organizers. So in good times and in bad times. And if you, even if it's a smaller booth than you had before, just also show your appreciation for the work they put into providing these platforms. Yeah, that's my personal perspective. If you go, you have a great story to tell on social media, talking about, okay, so next slide, I'm seeing I'm slightly running out of time. So people are, or we had these a tracing feature in the trade show app. So people had to download these apps. In these trade show apps, usually you have an exhibitor directory embedded where you can also talk about your company, you can do some marketing. So please use that stuff. And maybe it's also a good icebreaker if somebody comes to your booth and you do the scanning and tracking. And that's a good question just to warm up with your guest. However, please, I mean, the temptation is there. You have your phone in your hand all the time. Don't check the social media. Really be present and at least try to make some eye contact with bypassing visitors. What I found most difficult last week is really the communicating with the face masks. It's really a problem hearing people properly. We were close to the conference area. Our neighbor's booth had a TV showing some explanatory video. So that was really difficult. I felt after one day at a trade show how I would normally feel after 4 days. So if you usually bring a TV with some very loud noise, I recommend better leave it at home or mute it. It's more difficult to read the facial expressions, to do some nonverbal communication, to filter who is really interested, who is wasting your time. So maybe you can just mentally prepare for that or even practice with your team. So last recommendation in this context, and I at the same time show the summary, which you can take a photo from, is the booth construction. So think about the new circumstances and try to design the booth in a way that people really very quickly understand what you're doing and what you're showcasing. Very good. And final slide. So on the way, we will still need to figure out some things. I'm happy to help. And if you want to learn more about attending trade shows in Germany, definitely go to the AUMA website and maybe also order one of my books on this topic. Back to Tina.
Thank you very much, Ms. Riemhofer. Thank you very much. Now I am kindly announcing also the discussion between Mr. Kötter and you. So the floor is yours. Until now, we really got a lot of fruitful information about the trade fair industry in these challenging times. I believe this grand finale discussion will bring more of them. We have 2 questions in the chat, which we will deal later with after your discussion. And of course, dear ladies and gentlemen, you are most welcome to put more of these questions within the chat option. So please.
Yeah. One question, Tina, how much time do we have? I have the feeling that we are slightly running out of time. I would not want the visitor questions not to be answered.
Okay, I agree. Then maybe I will now just highlight the visitor questions, and then later, then we can switch to the discussion. So the first question we have is from Miss Jelena, and she's asking, or let's say it's more a thought, both for exhibitors and visitors, it would be great help if the tourist arrangements were more flexible, air transport, hotel accommodation with strict cancellation, and 3 more times expensive. So maybe what is your feeling here? I know it's not directly up to you, but just
Harald, I think you have more the general perspective on these issues.
Yes, so the transport and hotel accommodation, okay, this is not in the direct responsibility of an organizer, of course, but I think the organizers try to convince the local hotels, for example, to find here solutions which are quite comfortable for the exhibitors or visitors. But regarding air transport, this is a bit of course a challenge for an exhibition organizer, but they are operating internationally, and so it's complicated to get substantial influence to their decisions. It's a bit complicated, of course. And the cancellation, I think this is also applies to this, the topic of hotel accommodations. This is really a problem if this is really true. But maybe it's helpful to contact the exhibition organizer. I think in most cases they have a good contact to the major hotels in their city, and maybe they can find a better solution for you. But air transport is a bit more complicated. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kötter. So the next 2 questions we have in the chat are from Mr. Miha Gajic. The first he would like to highlight, he says, Dear Mr. Kötter, since you are closer to the German political decisions with AUMA Association, in which way the political influencers are thinking at this time for the future trade shows, since we know now they are the ones who will give green light to the individual trade show? So maybe first this question, and then I will read the second one.
Well, so in Germany, for example, at the Federal Ministry of Economics, there are a lot of important persons who are, let's say, they became trade show fans in the last month, and sometimes. So I think in general, especially in the the Federal Ministry of Economic in Germany, there is we have very, very good contacts to important people there, and so they support also our suggestions and our ideas to improve the situation. But there are also, of course, other ministries for health, all the authorities in Brussels, and so on. And sometimes it's not easy to bring all these opinions and positions together. But in general, I think there was a strong commitment in Germany, especially at the federal government, to give green light. It was a bit more complicated at the level of the federal states. There were very different positions. For example, in North Rhine-Westphalia, it was in general possible to organize small fairs beginning from 1st of June. But people were absolutely surprised about this decision, and nobody wanted to make exhibitions at this time. In other ones, it was very different. So I think in Lower Saxony, for example, it's, bigger exhibitions are allowed beginning from 15th of September. And in Berlin, it's very, very complicated. They have very strong restrictions regarding the size of events, including exhibitions. But in the most federal states, the authorities have really given green light.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kötter. And the second question is also from Mr. Micha Gajic, and he's actually sharing an experience. So he said, we had a set of stands at Caravan Saloon this year as per last 20 years. And I must say that complying with the new COVID regulations is not so complex. And in terms of whole management of the trade show as exhibitor is with right support, minimum extra work. The more frustrating for the exhibitors, customers, and stand builders is not knowing until the last minute that the trade show will not be cancelled. So again, this uncertainty.
Yes, in general, yeah. It's not possible for any person to guarantee exhibition dates in, let's say, November and December. Unfortunately, very strange situation, of course, because in the past, every people also from outside Germany say, so if the Germans set a date for 2023, this will happen. Yeah? and now they are planning in very short periods. But in general, I think the decisions are made very early. For example, I think 1 week ago, the Medica in Düsseldorf had to be cancelled as a real life exhibition, and so it was decided beginning of December, and the show was planned for end of November. And so in Frankfurt, they now already said that Heimtextil, for example, will not take place in January, but in May. So they try to plan in very long periods. But let's take this Heimtextil in Frankfurt. They have a share of international exhibitors of 90%. And most of them, of course, do not come from Austria or the Netherlands and so on, but from countries in East Asia, for example, or Turkey, India, China, and so on. And if there the situation is so uncertain regarding travel restrictions, they already now say that so we will postpone the exhibitions for several months. So all the organizers try to give a minimum of of safety in planning, but it's very unfortunately planning complicated in these times to guarantee anything. It's we hope there will be better times in a few months, but nobody knows it exactly.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kötter. So far, we don't have no more questions, dear ladies and feedback from Mr. Gajic. Also from the first hand, I have information from Caravan Saloon that the sales and number of visitors was very high, having in mind the new circumstances. As a positive result, this could be used with influencers as a good practice.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And but in also this buying caravans is also a real trend, especially in Germany. And so a lot of people had really interest in buying products or these mobile homes. And so this was a very good precondition, of course, for the success of this show.
Thank you very much. Great. So now we are just on time. It's 11 o'clock. We have planned also the discussion between Ms. Andra Riemhofer and Mr. Herald Kötter. So, dear ladies and gentlemen, hope you still have a few minutes more. Otherwise, I mean, I would anyhow suggest maybe to prolong a few minutes more. So, and hopefully, this will work for you, because we really have the challenges, and now it's a wonderful opportunities with these great guests that we can discuss them. So the floor is yours.
Wonderful. So, Harald, I trust you've been listening to my presentation also. I was very eager also to learn from you about what is Vogelperspektive in English. I mean, you as the association representative, you are working with all the trade show organizers and have the latest information. Is there anything that you find is important in that context, which I had not mentioned in the presentation? Was there anything you would like to add?
Yes, a bit. But I think in general it was quite comprehensive. So I think it's especially in these times it's important. I think if exhibitors they have participated and they have a substantial success, they should also inform others about this topic, because a lot of people doubt: is it dangerous or not? Is there any risk or not? And so I think it should be quite important if people are sufficient with this general circumstances, but also with their economic success, also to inform the trade press, but also people in their associations and so on. I think this could be a very good step and a very good message for other people to decide on further participations or visits of trade fairs.
Okay, so this, I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, Mr. Miha Gajic, the gentleman who has attended Caravan Saloon, he was sharing his frustration with not being able to plan. So suppose I register for a trade show as an exhibitor, and suppose it does not take place, it gets cancelled. Will I get reimbursed? Will I get my money back? What are the regulations?
It depends on the contract. There are not general rules for the German exhibitions as a whole. It depends on the special regulations for that are made by the individual organizers. But if the organizer decides to cancel the show without any pressure of the authorities, then in general they find, I think, solutions that are quite comfortable for the exhibitors, because they have, of course, interest that these exhibitors will come back for the next one. But it's not there are not standards for which situation there are special or general rights for the exhibitor. This is a bit different from company to company, and please have a look. Recommendation for the exhibitors into the contract you have made, and contact the organizer. And I think nearly all cases, so they have already found a good solution for both sides.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so one solution that some trade show organizers are proactively offering for certain shows are online formats. Like, for example, one of my favorite trade shows is Electronica Trade Fair every second year in November, world leading trade show for electronics. So this year it will be a virtual event, for example. My question is, Harald, do you have any insights on how these events, not Electronica in particular, but in general, what are trade show organizers planning, and what is your opinion on virtual events as compared to face-to-face events?
There are different formats of digital shows. Sometimes some of them are quite simple. Sometimes people think it's not more as an electronic catalog. So, but others are quite very detailed and very comfortable. And in other cases, this is more a congress program than an exhibition. So it's always necessary if an exhibitor decides to participate in a digital presentation as an alternative, to look at this type of a digital event, because it can be a very wide range of types there. But in general, so this is our experience from different people, that you can maintain contacts by digital events, and you can give basic information of your products, but it seems to be very difficult to get new customers by this way, because especially the new customers really want to check your product, if it's a real product or not only a service. So I think this continues to be the main advantage of a real exhibitions. People can check a machine, textiles, and they want to feel this. They want to check surfaces and so on, because this is always a question of quality. If you see a picture or something, if it's in the 3D or not, this is not the reality. And if people will really want to buy something, it's always helpful to have a real presentation. So the digital events can be a solution for this current situation, to maintain contacts, to give basic information, but they're not really the same as a real trade fair.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so maybe not the bottom line of what you just said, but some pros for these events could be like showcase, hey, I'm still there in the market, I'm still an as important player, as to participate in this event, take it as an opportunity to be accessible for at least your existing clients, And maybe depending on the industry, if you are selling services, software, maybe that's definitely something you should consider and keep in mind if you are showcasing some machines or stuff. Yeah, that then it's not the best opportunity for you. Maybe we can leave it at that. In my presentation, I have also briefly talked about how helpful I find the information that AUMA is providing with all the market studies and material. And I was recently also very happy about a short guideline for exhibitors, what to consider when attending a trade show. Can you briefly talk about what information you are offering on your website that international visitors and exhibitors could find useful?
So first of all, we have a database on exhibitions, not only in Germany, but also worldwide. So it includes about, I think, in total 500 German exhibitions of different types and about 4,500 from other countries. Of course, it's not possible for every country in the world to have a minimum standard of information. This is, of course, much easier when we ask our direct members to provide data for our database. So there we provide, for example, statistics for the last 3 events, and for a lot of events also information on the visitor structure, the region they are coming from, and the sectors of industry and their profession and qualification. So this is a good basis, I think, for exhibitors to make decisions in general if this trade fair is the right one for a company, because of course every company first of all had to set objectives. What will I achieve at this trade fair? And then people have to look if there is exhibitions or some exhibitions that are fitting to these objectives. If you only go to an exhibitions and you see 100,000 visitors there, this should be the right one, but maybe there are very few visitors that are really interested in your product. So this is an important question. And additionally, we give a lot of additional information, tips for preparing a participation, for example, and also information on the law questions regarding trade fairs. And additionally, it's also possible to contact us directly if people do not have information they are looking for. I think my colleagues, most cases, they will have an answer for nearly every question.
Yeah. Maybe I can add this. Many of my international clients, when I talk about German trade shows, they say, oh yeah, German trade shows, we know Hannover Messe and we visit Hannover Messe every year. And for example, when they come from automation or electronics, where a lot of my clients come from, and I talk about smaller trade shows, often they are not aware of them. They think Hannover Messe, that's the place to be. In your database, you can really, in the AUMA database, that's for the audience, that you can really research in what industry are you, what are the kind of products you want to sell, and in the AUMA database you can research also all this, not all, but the smaller events. And sometimes it's more advisable to visit a smaller trade show that is more specialized, that is really focusing on the segment you are into. So that is one advice I would like to add, how to make use of the extensive information the AUMA, the association, is offering. I trust it's still there, Harald. Now that I trust the database is still there.
Yes, of course. It's absolutely correct. The size of an exhibition is not the main criteria. It has to fit to the product the exhibitor or visitor has or is looking for. For example, now we have registered an exhibition for pipeline technology, so this is quite special, of course. Or I think there are very few sectors of industry that are not represented at German trade fairs. I think there's no exhibitions for offshore industries. This is more in Norway or Scotland. But this is so every year, as you already mentioned, there are 180 exhibitions with international and national relevance, and this is really the complete range of the sectors of industries.
Okay, very good. So now we know how to keep ourselves updated. Harald even invited us to get in touch with AUMA. We have in your presentation, that would have been my last question. How do you consider 2021? But we already heard that there will be 196 trade shows are planned, and it's a step-by-step process. Thank you, Harald.
Okay, thank you.
Vielen lieben Dank, vielen herzlichen Dank. Thank you very much, Ms. Andra Riemhofer, Mr. Herald Kötter. All the best for the next year. Really, thank you very much also, dear ladies and gentlemen, who now we came to an end of this webinar. And thank you very much also for your contribution. I believe the information and the insight that you have got will be helpful. All the best also to you with all your trade fairs activities. I'm keenly informing you that every 2 weeks we organize a webinar, and in the future weeks we'll also have the webinars from the logistic industry, artificial intelligence, digital constructuring. So you will be, of course, invited on time, and hopefully we will be seeing each other soon again. Thank you very much again, dear guests, dear ladies and gentlemen. Sunny regards from Ljubljana, and wishing you all the best. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.